Hey everyone, so whether you're driving a high-performance sports car or just a regular fuel-sipping hatchback, there's a good chance you're using one of the most advanced pieces of automotive tech out there, the dual-clutch transmission, or DCT. But do you really know how it works? And more importantly, how to drive it right? Let's dive in. People call it a technological marvel, and honestly, for good reason. This amazing piece of engineering is in millions of cars, giving us lightning-fast shifts and incredible efficiency. But here's the thing. It has its own quirks, and not understanding them can lead to a really rough ride and, some pretty expensive repairs down the line. And that's really the big question, isn't it? The whole point of a DCT is to give you that direct, sporty feel of a manual gearbox, but with all the convenience of an automatic. But to really get the best out of it and to make sure it lasts a long, long time, there are some things you absolutely need to know. Okay, let's get into this. Right, so to figure out how to drive one of these things properly, we first got to look under the hood. Let's peel back the layers and uncover the secret behind how a DCT actually does what it does.
So at its very heart, a DCT is basically a computer-controlled manual transmission. But instead of one clutch that you work with your foot, it has two of them. And this whole dual clutch setup, that is the secret to its incredible speed.
Now this diagram, I know, it might look a little complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. You see those two input shafts, how one is kind of nested inside the other? Just think of it like having two separate mini gearboxes living together in one house. And as we're about to see, one of them is always ready for what's coming next. And here's how they split up the work. It's pretty clever. The first clutch is responsible for all the odd-numbered gears, so first, third, fifth, and so on. The second clutch, it takes care of all the even gears, second, fourth, sixth. This little division of labor is what makes the whole system just work so beautifully. So how does this all add up to those instant shifts? Well, it's all about something called pre-selection. While you're accelerating in first gear, the car's computer, its brain, is already predicting, hey, he's probably going to want second gear next. So it gets second gear all lined up and ready to go on that other shaft. The absolute moment the shift happens, the first clutch opens and the second one closes at the exact same time. The power is handed off perfectly with zero interruption. You get none of that shift shock or lurch you feel in some other cars. It's like a beautiful mechanical ballet.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty amazing, right? But what does it actually mean for you, the person behind the wheel? Well, like any cool piece of tech, it comes with its own set of trade-offs. Let's break down the good and the bad.
And here you can really see that balance laid out. I mean, on the one hand, you get way faster shifting, better fuel economy, sometimes up to 10% better than a traditional automatic, and this really sporty, connected feel. But on the other hand, all that complexity means they can be expensive to fix, they can sometimes feel a bit jerky at low speeds in traffic, and they aren't always the best choice for really heavy-duty stuff, like towing a big trailer. So knowing its strengths and weaknesses is one thing, but how do you actually get the best out of it every day? Now that we understand the mechanics, we can learn to work with them, not against them. So here are the 5 key rules for maximizing your DCT's performance and making it last. All right, rule number 1. This is all about how you handle that dreaded stop-and-go traffic. That constant creeping or inching in a traffic jam, that is a clutch killer. Every single time you lift your foot off the brake just a tiny bit, you're partially engaging and slipping that first gear clutch over and over again. It's so much better to just leave a small gap in front of you and then move forward decisively to let the clutch fully engage. Next up, number 2. This one is absolutely critical for anyone who drives on hills. So here's the deal, and this is so important. Never, ever, ever hold your car on a hill with the gas pedal. A traditional automatic has something called a torque converter. It's a fluid coupling that can handle that just fine. A DCT doesn't. It will literally try to hold the car by physically slipping its clutches, which creates a massive amount of heat and can very quickly lead to very expensive damage. See, when you hold down the brake pedal, the car's computer is smart enough to completely disengage both clutches. It takes all the strain off the transmission. It is by far the safest way to hold the car still on an incline. Just remember this. Your brake pedal is your transmission's best friend. Rule 3. This one tackles a really common habit that a lot of us have carried over from driving older automatics. You might think you're being clever, maybe saving some wear and tear by shifting to neutral at a red light, but with a DCT, you're actually doing the opposite. The system is smart. It automatically disengages the clutches for you when you're stopped in drive. Constantly shifting between drive and neutral just puts extra cycles,
extra wear on all the little shift mechanisms for no reason.
Okay, this next one is for all of you who like to take control and use the manual mode. Hey, remember how we said the DCT is always thinking one step ahead? Well, if you're braking hard, its brain is pre-selecting a lower gear, right? If you then manually flick the paddle for an upshift, you're basically sending it mixed signals. You're confusing it. This forces the transmission to make an unplanned shift, which can feel really slow and jerky. The key is to try and drive in a way that helps the computer predict your next move.
And finally, number 5. This is a little word of caution for the aspiring street racers out there. Some high-performance cars have a special launch control mode for a reason. If your car doesn't have that feature, please do not try to mimic a launch by holding the brake and revving the engine. It can be catastrophic for the transmission. You're basically forcing the clutches to slip against a massive, massive load, and that can cause serious, immediate damage.
So now we know how it works and how to drive it. But where did this incredible technology actually come from? To wrap things up, let's take a quick look back at its history. It's pretty fascinating. And believe it or not, the basic concept for this was invented all the way back in 1939. But the computers and materials needed to actually make it work, they just didn't exist yet. It wasn't until the 1980s that legendary brands like Porsche and Audi perfected it in the crucible of motorsports, on the racetrack. And then finally, in 2003, it hit the mainstream with the VW Golf R32. And from there, it just spread everywhere.
Which leaves us with a really interesting thought to end on. As the entire car world starts to pivot towards single-speed electric vehicles, the dual-clutch transmission might just be remembered as the peak, the final, most brilliant evolution of the gearbox for the internal combustion engine. It's a pretty cool piece of history that we're all driving on every single day, something to think about the next time you feel that lightning-fast shift.